Now, we briefly look at the problem of object tracking in videos. As the name indicates, the idea in object tracking is to be able to track an object in different frames of videos. It is therefore more complicated than just labeling each frame of the video, because you need to keep track of the correspondence between the objects of each video frame. The success in object tracking relies heavily on how robust the representation of target appearance is against several challenges such as viewpoint changes, illumination changes, and occlusions. Here are some references about object tracking. In DeepTrack, the authors proposed a target-specific CNN for object tracking, where the CNN is trained incrementally during tracking with new examples obtained online. They employ a candidate pool of multiple CNNs as a data-driven model of different instances of the target object. With CNN Tracker, a CNN object tracking method is proposed to address limitations of uncrafted features and shallow classifier structures in object tracking problems. The last paper proposes a visual tracking algorithm based on a pre-trained CNN. I encourage you to look at the link below in order to see what object tracking algorithms look like. Similarly to object tracking problems, you can also try to do pose estimation or action recognition in videos. Note that before, we have only seen pose estimation in images and not in videos. Applying CNNs on videos is challenging because traditional CNNs are designed to represent two-dimensional spatial signals, but in videos, a new temporal axis is added, which is essentially different from a spatial dimension. In the first reference, the authors consider the temporal axis in a similar manner as other spatial axes and introduce a network of 3D convolutional layers to be applied on video's inputs. The second reference separates the representation of spatial and temporal variations. Individual CNNs are trained for each of them. The output of the spatial and temporal streams are combined to output class probabilities. In pCNN, the authors build on the previous network, which separates the temporal and the spatial dimensions, but they apply that on localized parts of the human body in order to improve the performance of action recognition. Here is an example for the last reference. On the left is the input video. Then, for each frame in the video, you can estimate the pose of the individual, detecting the body parts, and estimate the flow in the frame, what parts of the image are moving based on the previous next frames. You can then use these cropped images and cropped flows as inputs of two different CNNs and concatenate their output to predict the action in the video. You can look at the different references below to see examples of such classifications. Lastly, let us just mention the problem of text detection and recognition, which can be solved using CNNs. Optical character recognition, OCR, can be categorized into three types: text detection and localization without recognition, in which your aim is to detect and localize text in an image without trying to recognize the characters. Text recognition on cropped text images, in which you want to recognize the text characters given an image that contains a text. End-to-end text spotting that integrates both text detection and recognition. Several methods have been proposed to solve these problems. In the first reference, a CNN originally trained to perform character classification is used for text detection. In the second one, a CNN model is used allowing feature sharing across 4 different subtasks: text detection, character case-sensitive and insensitive classification, and bigram classification. The last reference takes a completely different approach by considering one CNN per different tasks. The 3 tasks of detecting text, creating bounding boxes, and recognizing characters are performed by different CNNs. This concludes our review of different applications of CNNs. This list is of course not exhaustive, but it gives you an idea of what can be done with CNNs. You can look at the references in the slides if you want to have more details on a specific topic or a specific method. This concludes our journey on CNN. See you in the next sequence.